So Marjorie Taylor Greene has filed a motion to have Mike Johnson ousted as House Speaker. The guy's only been in there 5 months, and we are right back at this again. Why? Because Mike Johnson sided with Democrats and allowed the government to stay open, and in Marjorie Taylor Greene's world, you can't have any of that. Take a look at this clip.
This bill was basically a dream and a wish list for Democrats and for the White House. It was completely led by Chuck Schumer, not our Republican Speaker of the House, not our conference, and we weren't even allowed to put amendments to the floor to have a chance to make changes to the bill. I filed the motion to vacate today, but it's more of a warning and a pink slip. I respect our conference. I paid all my dues to my conference. I'm a member in good standing, and I do not wish to inflict pain on our conference and to throw the House in chaos. But this is basically a warning, and it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority instead of standing with the Democrats.
That's a warning. If it's a warning, if it's a warning, does that mean that you're actually not going to go through and force this vote?
No, I will. I'm just
There's
not.
nothing that can convince you to back off.
There's not a time limit on this. It doesn't have to be forced and throw the House into chaos. I don't want to put any of our members in a difficult place like we were for 3.5 weeks. We're going to continue our committee work. We're going to continue our investigations. There's a lot of good investigations going that have to be able to proceed, and the American people deserve that. But I'm not saying that it won't happen in 2 weeks or it won't happen in a month or who knows when. But I am saying the clock has started. It's time for our conference to choose a new speaker.
So let's really stop and think about this one for a minute. You got the Republican Party whose front runner is Donald Trump, a failed former president who has no good record to run on and who has spent more time in courtrooms than he has on the campaign trail. You would think the Republican Party would really want to bust ass to get things accomplished and do something, because that way they could say, hey, look, we really need the presidency because look how much we've done in the House. But instead, it's the exact opposite. They are the least productive House since the Great Depression. Just let that one sink in. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene says she hasn't talked to Donald Trump about this motion to remove Mike Johnson, but let's face it, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a product of Donald Trump. He paved the way for that type of extremism. That's why she's there. Donald Trump has completely broke the Republican Party and done away with the Republican Party of our grandfathers, and now we are living in a world where they are so extreme that they can never agree. There's never going to be a moment where they say, yeah, we're proud to have worked with Democrats to get this accomplished. They will not do it because they don't want to keep the government open, because they want to make things look as bad on Joe Biden as they can. They don't care how many people's lives this affects. It means nothing to them. All they're worried about is their loyalty to Donald Trump and creating as much chaos. The more they muddy the water and the more chaos they create, the more it will distract from what's going on in Donald Trump's world. But for those of us who are keeping our eye on the ball and staying focused, we realize what's happening, and we realize just how much the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world is playing us. But now I want to take you back in time. I want to take you back to this clip I found of Marco Rubio talking about what would happen if Donald Trump was ever allowed to control the Republican Party. He said it would be complete chaos, and well, he was right. Roll the clip.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
So what do you think a Trump government would look like, Senator?
It would be chaos.
So yeah, he did say that, but then guys like him just sat back and allowed Donald Trump to take over and create nothing but total chaos. And now you got guys like Asa Hutchinson out there saying, I don't even recognize the Republican Party. No shit, Asa, roll the clip.
And Trump has converted our party into something that we hardly recognize. And so I'm swimming upstream. But it's an important battle this year that we continue to fight for what we believe is important for our country and for our party. We're doomed to lose if we just simply become the Trump entity that's going to be following whatever latest craziness that he advocates. And that's a concern to me. That's why I'm raising my voice. January 6th is a part of it. He's morally responsible. We'll find out whether he's legally responsible.
So yeah, the Republican Party is unrecognizable these days, but I don't really feel sorry for them because they themselves saw this coming. They even tried to warn us. And then they sat back, allowed it to happen, and now they're out there complaining that it happened. Well, that's what you get. It's like the old expression, if you break it, you bought it. They broke the Republican Party when they bought into Donald Trump, and I really can't feel sorry for him. But getting back to Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to oust Mike Johnson, think about this for a minute. Mike Johnson is the most extreme House Speaker, the most far-right House Speaker of our lifetime, and he's not extreme enough for Marjorie Taylor Greene. That should tell you everything you need to know about this MAGA movement. In MAGA's world, there is no democracy and there is no compromise. There's no working with the other side. You're never going to see Marjorie Taylor Greene come out and say, we're proud we worked with Democrats to get this one accomplished for the American people. She's not going to do that because they cannot stand to give credit to anyone but themselves. It's all about them. They sit back and they say that we're the ones that's trying to lock up political opponents, that it's us against democracy, when in reality, they're projecting exactly who they are onto the rest of us. They do not want democracy. They want a House Speaker who will do everything they say, and that is not how government works. Just because you're a congressman does not mean you have the right to say, oh, I'm going to oust anybody out there that disagrees with me. That's not how it works. When you lose, you go back to the drawing board and you say to yourself, what got us to this point? And you try to do something different. If a bill you tried to get passed doesn't pass, you try something else. That's how it works. But not in MAGA's world. In MAGA's world, they always have to play the victim. And they always have to act as though their way is the only way and compromise is not an option. So if compromise is not an option to them, obviously democracy is not either, because they're the ones that tried to overturn an election that they knew they lost. And they're still trying to do so. And there are people who have no problem when Donald Trump says he wants to be dictator on day one. Doesn't faze them. When he says he would terminate the Constitution, does not faze the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She does not care. Because it's all about them. That's all they care about at the end of the day. And they don't care how many people a government shutdown would affect, means nothing. None of that matters to them. It's all about winning in their world and getting their way. And they will oust anybody that gets in their way, even if he's the most extreme House Speaker of our lifetime. So what would Marjorie Taylor Greene's alternative be? What kind of person would she put up there in Mike Johnson's place? Really stop and think about that one, because this one's absolutely, it's gotten so far out of hand now that you're just sitting back now watching the Republican Party burn. It's like, that's what we're doing. We're headed into an election year, a time when they should really be trying to come forward and do something so they have a record to run on, but they have absolutely nothing. And they're doubling down and doing even less.